any injuries ahead of the start of the new season?
Yeah, we've always got a few hanging round, but we've got like Runye and Ryan Beverton. Hopefully, come back into available for selection over the next couple of weeks. But the boys we've had through pre-season have worked really hard, and yeah, pretty excited for the game Friday night.
And how's the summer gone for you?
Yeah, it's been really good. We've seen a lot of the younger guys, which has been great to have them for an extended period. Really look at them closely. Obviously, having so many away through the World Cup period, it's a bit fragmented in around some of the players, but it is what it is. We enjoy these parts of the year, and even though it's difficult in the fact that at some points we've had over 20 guys away, and still we like, it's amazing for us that we've got 12 in the World Cup, but it does have its sort of issues. But it's been great to get and see a lot of the younger guys and how quickly they've come on in the environment over the space of sort of the 8 to 9 weeks they've been in, which is great.
Obviously you have these periods during the Six Nations and autumn where a lot of your players are away. Not normally at the start of the season. Does it make it more different? How do you cope with it when it's at the beginning of the campaign and all your best players are somewhere else?
Yeah, it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it, and I think it's a pride as what we do as Ospreys and the calibre player we've got, what we produce from within the club, and how boys have come through the system to have 12 guys going to the World Cup. I think is a real achievement and something we pride ourselves on. And up until last week, the week before, we've had Eli in the squad, so he's coming back into the mix next week, which is disappointing for him. But obviously he's still had a great summer, and before that, Rory Thornton, Dan Baker, Nicky Smith have had extended periods with Wales, which is a great experience for them, and they've learned from it, and hopefully they can bring that back to our group.
What are the expectations this year? What do you think you can achieve?
I think we've got to perform. I think there's something we focused on last year, was about week in, week out being really competitive, and when you represent our Osprey shirt, and this season will be no different. It'll be about performance on Friday night, the things we can control, and then hopefully we'll have some outcomes. But ultimately it's going to be about how we perform on Friday and around how we train every day, how we review our footage, how we get better day in, day out.
Have you looked further ahead in terms of where you want to be at the end of the season? Can you do better than last year in terms of the playoffs?
I'm not one for getting dragged into looking towards the back end of the season now, because that may never happen. It's the fact of it is we've got to prepare really well for Friday night when we go and play Ulster. There'll be no stone unturned. The boys are prepared really well. It's going to be great to get some more young guys playing, some new guys who haven't played for the Ospreys before in a competitive match. So we've prepared like any other given game, and if we are competitive and we perform, and hopefully perform a little bit better than we did last season, then you never know where it'll take you.
This time last year you were being written off by a lot of people.
Yeah.
Do you think you're taken more seriously this time around?
Yes, people will be commenting on it either way, so it's like I didn't really get too carried away with it last year. We were concentrating ourselves, and there may be a little bit more expectation in this year, but again, there's no good getting carried away with that, because that doesn't get you victories, that doesn't get you winning, or it doesn't get you performances. So the only thing we can concentrate on is ourselves, which we did last year, and we'll certainly be doing that this year.
Is that expectation that you mentioned, and does that add more pressure?
No, I don't think so. It's the fact of you've got to move on. You can't stand still. There's no good sitting and patting ourselves in the back for what was a pretty good season for us, getting to semi-final. We're all disappointed in that end of the Munster, but when you reflect on it, I thought it was a pretty good season from us, and around how a lot of the young guys in first year of professional rugby performed and went on to get international honours. To push Munster like we did in the semi-final is pleasing, but the boys are bitterly disappointed, and we haven't got time to go and pat yourself on the back for what we've overachieved, or whichever way people want to look at it. We've got to perform again, and we've got to raise our own expectation of performance levels, and how we train, and how we recover, how we look after each other, how we challenge each other week in, week out.
That bitter disappointment you talk about in the semi-final, do you use that as motivation this year?
Yeah, I think it'll be lingering there at some point, but it's. I think the boys move on quite quickly. They realise the enjoyment of going to a semi-final. It was great to get back into that playoff mix, and everything that comes with it. The environment, going to Munster to play in semi-finals is an amazing experience, and I think we just want to experience those things more and more often. But the only way you can do that is by performing, by doing your role within the team, and making sure you're doing everything to make sure that team performance is what it can be on a Friday night or a Saturday.
What about Ulster then? Another playoff team like yourself as last year. What do you expect on Friday?
I think they're a pretty pretty good team, if I'm honest, right across the board. They've got some outstanding backs, even with some of the boys going to Ireland. They've got a core of a real good pack with Tui is obviously back with them, Van der Merwe. They've got those guys, so Nick Williams. So they've got a pretty formidable team. It's an amazing venue to go to. They've got an outstanding crowd, so we know it'll be a real tough test for us, with something that it's going to be a real challenge for us, but something that, like I said, we're pretty excited about getting out there Friday and hopefully performing.
That's much tougher first game, did you?
No, I think it is what it is, isn't it? Yeah, but I think the way the league is set up, off the back of last year, I think every game is competitive, and I think people are knocking each other over. There is no good time to go away, but like I said, the only thing we can do is concentrate on our own performance, make sure that's bang on, and give ourselves every chance then to go and get what we want from the game. But I think it's where the league is at. I don't think you couldn't probably pick a fixture where you'd like. It's always going to be difficult. People lose players, blah blah blah, but it's something we've got to be spot on with our work.
As you've alluded to, you just people were saying last year the league was as competitive as it has been ever. Do you think it's even closer now this year? Do you think everyone else has stepped up again?
Yeah, I think everyone steps up, and I think there'll be, for the teams that don't lose that many internationals, I think there's a real opportunity for them at the start of the season where they've got a little bit more consistency around everything they've got throughout the season. So there's a chance for them to have obviously the sort of full squads ready to go at the start of the year. But yeah, I think anyway, you look at Edinburgh's strength and Connacht the season they had, the Dragons last season. So yeah, I think it's probably going to be the most competitive we've seen it.
So picking a winner is going to be probably more difficult than it's ever been in terms of the whole season. There are so many teams in the mix now.
Yeah, I think so. And like going down to the back end, I think it was like we were a try away from finishing top at the end of the season, and then you've got anyone could have finished top of the final four, and then you've got everyone fighting for Europe. So yeah, I think it's as competitive as it has been, and I think the competition grew last year, and I think it's going to continue to do so.
Interested to know your thoughts on the scoring changes that are introduced into the Principality Premiership next season. What do you think? Do you see them being brought forward in maybe into the Pro12 one day?
I've seen the changes, and I think some of them are really positive, but it's something that I haven't really thought too much about them being brought into our end of the minute, because it'd be a bit of a change at the minute, but we'd have plenty of prep time if that was going to change, so it's not something I've given too much thought to, if I'm honest.
Do you think it would work in the Premiership though this year? Do you think it would do?
Yeah, I think some of it will increase ball and play time. I think the standard will go up, and it'll be more of demand on seeing, like you said, we all want to see the ball in play, and I think that a couple of the things that they brought in will definitely aid that.
How much can we read into the Saracens results, Steve, for the season?
I don't think you can read too much into it. I think we didn't read too much into it last year as a team. I know everyone else did, but it's something we didn't read. We took a lot of learning out of it and how we could get better, and played a pretty strong Saracens team last season. But yeah, this year they're a different end of pre-season. Like they're a little bit further down the track than us. We were ready. We'd gone up against Wales, and probably they were only just coming into contact. It was still a pretty decent team they put out on paper, in fairness. But I thought there was some real positive ends in their performance. There was a lot of learnings that we've tried to develop throughout the summer that come into the fore. And again, I think there was only one guy that started the game for us from last summer. I think it was Lloyd Ashley. So yeah, we've still got a lot of new faces, a lot of young kids made their debuts for us, and some of the new guys. So yeah, all in all, it was a decent hit out for us, but I definitely won't be reading too much into it. At the end of the day, it's a pre-season friendly. No one will sort of remember whether we beat Saracens or not when it comes Friday night.
Am I right in saying Eli Walker's not available for the first game?
Yeah, Eli is available to us, but I think obviously the week they've had and being away for so long, the group have prepared for a fair while now, and I don't think it'd probably be fair to rush Eli back, even though I know he'd be chomping at the bit to come and represent the Ospreys. But I think with the guys we brought in and the guys we got coming back from injury, there's in and around that department I feel we've got a fair bit of competition, which is great, and Eli will come back into training next week.
The other players you've had back from Wales, are you confident they're in the right frame of mind to go into this now? There's no sort of lingering disappointment or anything from not making the squad?
I think that, there would have been disappointment originally, but I think at the end of the day they've got to draw on those experiences as positives. Like for instance, Eli having his first cap, being around the camp and putting an extended run together. So I think as much as disappointment around Eli, I think when he reflects on it, there'll be a real positive end from the summer, and then you got likes of Rory being around, like Alan Wynne again, Charteris for the whole summer, going to different places to push themselves. Nicky Smith, Baker the same. I think, yes, there's disappointment, but we're talking about real youthful players, which is something that they've, like last season was probably their first season in pro rugby, and Rory coming on in the semi-final for us, and those kind of things. They're still really young men, but I think they've got a huge international future, but ultimately they've got to do the job of work for the Ospreys, which they're pretty excited to do.
Can you tell me a bit about Oliver Tomasic, if I pronounced that right?
Yeah, something Daniel Souttar's had a bit of a bump, so he'll be out for a few weeks. We were having a look at something to bring in a little bit of cover, because we are a bit thin around there, like, because we've got so many boys representing.
Is that an area you're going to strengthen some more, do you think? Or
we're always looking. It's not something that, because when we get everyone back, we've got plenty of numbers just through this period, and we would have been comfortable if Daniel was fit, but he took a bit of a bump on in one of the training sessions, so we're just making sure we're covering all bases.
You kind of touched on this already, but at this stage you don't set goals for yourself as far as the season's concerned. How do you approach it then? You know, do you target things sort of month by month, or?
No, it's performance. It's, at the end of the day, we build in every week. We've got a job to work to do against Ulster, and throughout pre-season we just want to get better at what we do. More responsibility on ourselves as players, as coaches, making sure our detail is spot on, making sure we review our footage, make sure we challenge ourselves, and make sure every session is better. And at the end of the day, if our house is in order going to Ulster, then we've got an opportunity to go and do something really positive, but something we don't get too carried away, because we can look of a target a month that could be out the window in the first game. So it's something that we really focus on, our performance, how we do our roles within the team environment, and how we try to get better every week.
As a group, do you think you're stronger than last season?
Yeah, I think if we take of where we were from the end of last season, what we've achieved throughout the season and being competitive, some of the performances from last season, but at the end of the day, we've got to learn. We've got to try and be better from those. We've got to make sure that isn't something that, oh yeah, we done okay last year, so we can just kick on. It's not. We've got to be better at what we do.